Hey, it's Phil Meyer. Let's talk about Scholar on controller. Scholar is Final Fantasy XIV's original shield healer, technical, strategic, and equipped with the fairy companion that many players love. But let's be honest, how well do we really know her? She may appear sweet and serene, quietly floating by your side, but there's something unsettling about that unwavering gaze. It's as if she's silently tracking your every move, patiently waiting for a misstep, and judging you for it. Like with all of my caster layouts, I focus on keeping instant cast actions on the controller's face buttons so I can maintain movement with the left analog stick. Now, the main challenge with Scholar is that its kit doesn't fit on a single cross hotbar set. You'll need at least 3 hotbars, though I personally use 4 for extra flexibility. The first set handles core skills, while the second swaps in fairy and pet actions. Scholar also has the option of using the pet hotbar, but I turn this off since we'll already be using 2 hotbar sets. Switching between these sets by tapping the right shoulder button is a behavior you can set up in character configuration settings. Let's go through the setup, starting with the right trigger side of the base cross hotbar. Scholar's primary attack, Broil, sits on the left D-pad button. It may feel odd to place your main attack here, but since it requires standing still, it frees up face buttons for mobility skills. Next to Broil are Adloquium and Physic, which line up with the same positions I use for similar spells in my other healer layouts. These spells have cast times and are often used after targeting a party member with the D-pad already, so these positions just make sense. On the final button of this cluster is where I've placed Emergency Tactics. This location allows for efficient comboing with Adloquium, as well as with Consultation on the opposite trigger, which we'll get to in a little bit. On the right trigger face buttons are Scholar's other offensive skills. Ruin is the instant cast alternative to Broil, trading potency for mobility. Use Broil when stationary and Ruin when moving. Art of War, Scholar's AoE attack, goes on the top face button, while Biolysis, Scholar's single target damage over time spell, goes on the bottom, matching my White Mage and Astrologian layouts. Energy Drain, an off-global cooldown attack, sits on the right face button so it's easy to fire off while staying mobile. Next, on the left trigger face buttons, I've placed Scholar's instant healing tools. Lustrate and Indomitability are powered by Etherflow charges and match the button positions of similar skills in my other healer layouts. Etherflow itself is here too, so I can quickly refresh and spend charges in sequence. Whispering Dawn fills the last spot as it's handy to trigger while repositioning. You might also consider swapping this for Sacred Soil depending on your preference. I'll touch on that when we get to the double cross hotbar later. Now, on the left D-pad button is where I've placed Consultation, Scholar's AoE heal with a cast time, keeping consistency with my other healer layouts. Fey Illumination, which boosts healing magic potency, is placed nearby for easy chaining. On the bottom D-pad button is Deployment Tactics, which spreads Galvanized Shield to the party. Since it's best used after a critical Adloquium for the Catalyze bonus, keeping it accessible on the base hotbar helps to react quickly. Finally, Asuna sits on the right D-pad button, just like all my other healer layouts. D-pad placement is appropriate as it requires targeting any given party member for use. Let's next move up to the double cross hotbar. On the right trigger's face buttons, I've placed Resurrection and Swiftcast together for fast raises. This positioning matches all of my other caster layouts for consistency. Chain Stratagem, which also changes into Baneful Impaction after activation, takes the left face button. Its long cooldown makes the double cross hotbar a good home, and its instant activation fits a face button. Expedient, which boosts party speed and defense, goes on the bottom face button since it's best used reactively to help deal with fight mechanics. The D-pad on this side holds Rescue and Surecast in their usual spots, while Seraphism and Dissipation fill the other 2 slots. Both Seraphism and Dissipation are instant but situational abilities with long cooldowns, so the D-pad makes sense. On the left trigger face buttons is where I've grouped additional healing and mitigation tools. Ether Pact, Scholar's single target regen, goes on the left button, matching the regen placements in my other healer layouts. Excogitation and Protraction, both defensive abilities, fill 2 more slots, again consistent with my other healer setups. These 3 actions require a target, but having them on face buttons allows for keeping mobility when using them on myself or the party's tank via assist targeting. Fey Blessing, another instant party heal with an off-global cooldown, takes the final slot. Its position on the top face button matches that of Indomitability on the base hotbar below it. Let's wrap up this side of the hotbar with the D-pad assignments. Repose and Lucid Dreaming take their usual locations on the left and right directional buttons. Recitation takes the bottom spot. It allows for activating several of Scholar's healing abilities without consuming resources. This spot allows me to activate it, then quickly drop down to the base hotbar to combo it with any of those abilities. Finally, Sacred Soil sits on the top D-pad button. It creates Scholar's ground-targeted healing bubble similar to White Mage's Asylum or Astrologian's Earthly Star. I keep it here for consistency with those layouts, but since Sacred Soil is more often used proactively for damage mitigation, specifically for party stack mechanics, and only has a moderate cooldown, you may prefer it on a face button instead for a little extra mobility. If I were to suggest one for that, it would probably be swapping it into Whispering Dawn's placement on the base hotbar. That covers the primary hotbar set, 2 full bars, but we're not done yet. Summon Eos and Summon Seraph still need a home, and for these I use the second cross hotbar set, which swaps in fairy related actions. Summon Eos is basically set and forget. You only need to use it after a job change or after resurrection, so it doesn't need a high value spot. I pair it with Dissipation, since the two are mutually exclusive. Scholar can't summon while Dissipation is active, and though not impossible, a Scholar is unlikely to immediately activate Dissipation after just summoning. I also slot in the option to dismiss the fairy here, though that is completely optional. On the base hotbar's left trigger face buttons is where I've placed Summon Seraph and a couple of key pet actions. The only pet actions I consider to be essential are Place and Heal. Place moves your fairy for better positioning during mechanics, while Heal brings her back. Stay is mostly redundant since Place can already hold her in position, so I leave it off the hotbar. Now, you can also collapse Place and Heal into a single button with a macro, but I prefer keeping them separate. This macro works because the Place action's ground targeting can be cancelled. You can choose to activate the macro and place the fairy, or instead cancel placement and keep the fairy following you. Summon Seraph itself deserves a face button. It can be used multiple times in each cooldown cycle, once to summon, then twice more for Seraph's group heals. I place it on the top face button, matching Indomitability's placement for consistency. The idea with the second hotbar set is that when you're ready to summon Seraph, you can quickly switch to it, activate the ability, then hit the button again for a group heal. You may want to get off a few attacks from the right trigger before using Seraph's second heal, then switch back to the primary hotbar set for business as usual. To track Summon Seraph's cooldown, I use a standard hotbar. You can enable this in character configuration, then use the HUD editor to place it how you'd like. Now on my extended hotbar is where I keep shared actions like limit break and targeting macros. I continue to experiment with what works best for me in these slots across all of my jobs. For healers, I include a macro that targets the second party member, which by default is the tank in a light party, so I can quickly shield or regen outside of combat when assist targeting wouldn't help. Assist targeting itself is mapped to my right stick button via macro 99, and sprint is mapped to the left stick button through macro 98. You can set these up in system configuration settings. And that's my Scholar controller setup. It's designed to stay consistent with my other healer layouts while accounting for Scholar's unique mechanics. If this video helped you out, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button on your way out. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.